Andrey from Liquidity Solutions, who will be speaking to us about fundraising and marketing. Gentlemen.
Hi. I think a lot of projects here come across the following questions. Where to take investments from, how to increase community members, how to outstand from more than 10,000 projects on CoinGecko, and what options do the projects have to attract new traders. So my name is Vinor, I'm CMO at Liquidity Solutions, and today we'll speak about two main aspects of crypto business. And these aspects are fundraising and market making and liquidity management. But before we get down straight to business, I'll tell some words about us. So Liquidity Solutions are on the market almost for 4 years. We have more than 90 existing clients. We conducted 20 fundraising campaigns, and we work with more than 200 exchanges. So at the very beginning of life of each project, after the MVP is done, all projects need funds. And in our company, we divide the fundraising help from our side into 4 steps. The first step is the due diligence part. At this stage, what we do, we conduct the market analysis. We try to understand your target audience, to outline your unique value proposition, and to understand the picture of your customer. Afterwards, we're working on your white paper, and we conduct the website audit just to understand what the best call to action is. As we've done with the first step, we're building on the next step the prospectus for our investors. At this stage, we work on the tokenomics. The tokenomics is the first and only financial document in the crypto. After it's done, we work with your pitch deck, because every investor wants to see where the money is, and the answer should be in your pitch deck. After that, we try to build the use of our proceeds just to understand how the investments will be spent, and in case if you are already traded on the exchange, we prepare the OTC deal. So the next stage is the analytics and metrics optimization. This stage is quite simple as we work with the A/B test, we work with the Google Optimize and try to understand what is the best call to action, what is the best heading for you, and what kind of pictures are most clickable on your websites. And we also prepare the email for our investors. And the final stage, by the way, is the most important stage, is the investors roadshow. Before we introduce the project to investors, we target them in the social mass media, so they have the feeling that they have seen you somewhere before. After that, we get the feedback from them, as it's very necessary to understand the investor's sentiment, in case if we are working in the right direction or not. And finally, when everything is done, we are ready for the last stage, which is pitching. So let's imagine that we already collected all our investments, and now what are the next steps? The next steps is definitely building the product, building the beta version, alpha version, and so on. But what we need, what is the uniqueness of the cryptocurrency industry? We need the community, and we need the users, the newcomers, the early adopters. And what options do we have to attract them? These options lie in such field as marketing. In marketing, in our company, we use 4 main weapons, and these weapons are social mass media, advertising, PR, and the final one, the influencers. Before we'll break down each case by case, so let's start with the key mistakes that everyone should avoid while choosing the service operator of the marketing that you will work with. When you see such offers as exact amount of followers, subscribers within the short amount of time, so be aware that these numbers are generated artificially, and I think everyone experiences it. So let's start with the social mass media. As you know, there are 2 main channels, as we can see from the statistics as well. These channels are Telegram and Twitter, that most cryptocurrencies are using. Let's start with the Telegram. So we take the arbitrary project and we look at their Telegram. What we see first? First is the number of overall members. This number is quite impressive, 20.5 thousand members. But if we look at the right-hand side, we can see there are only 800 people online. So this is quite a bad ratio, because the good ratio should look like this. If your community is organic, it should be at least 18/20% of online users. So this is a bad case. Let's move forward. Twitter, the same thing. You download the Twitter webpage. What you see at the very first picture is that you have the 13,000 followers. This is impressive, but we scroll down and see that there is only 1 like or 6 likes, and most of them are produced by the founders and team members. So this level of engagement is something that we should also avoid. Let's get down to advertising. This is the example of one of our clients who conducted the advertising campaign by himself on crypto channels. So on the left-hand side, you see there is 6.8 thousand euros were spent, and the average number of clicks was 2,000 clicks. So let's convert these numbers into dollars, as that much understandable for all of us, and we can see the number like this: $3.5 per 1 click. So this is just the click. This is not the end user. This is not a subscriber. This is not a community member. This is a person who clicked, and you paid for it $3.5. So be very careful when you just looking to target your audience and you're choosing the channels for advertising. The PR. In PR, it's very useful to understand at the very first point what is the reason of using it. In case if you want to use the PR for lead generation and awareness and brand recognition, you should be aware to work with the top publishers in the industry. For example, like CoinDesk and Cointelegraph. Definitely they are quite expensive, but they're the real ones who can really generate you the leads. Otherwise, if your key goal is to increase the Google indexation and SEO when somebody is looking you on the web, you can use Tier 2 and Tier 3 publishers such as Forbes, Benzinga, Investing.com, and so on and so forth. That doesn't mean that these publishers are bad, but in crypto industry, they generate less traffic. And the last but not least, influencers. So the same thing as it was shown before with the playing around with the numbers, we can see in this example. So the influencer has 95,000 subscribers. That's also very impressive, and I think most of us would like to work with him. But let's take the video that he produced already, and you can see that he has only 700 views and 34 likes. This is the same question about the engagement that was read before with the Twitter and Telegram. So the crypto industry is such a field that everyone would like to play with the numbers, and there is no need to run for big numbers. Run for a quality. Try to make it as organic as possible. So by the end of the presentation also, there will be a small bonus for all of us. It will be a professional tailored solution, so do not miss it. The main question that you may ask, what is our difference from other companies that also make marketing and market making? The thing is that we act like a bridge. What does it mean? So we take your community members on the side of marketing and transform them into traders. So how are we making it? My colleague Andrey will tell you more, so please welcome Andrey.
Thank you, Vinor. Hello, everyone. And we forgot this little thing, my little buddy for today. So many projects reach a certain level of their development where the most logical question that they face is how to develop further and how to accelerate their growth. So luckily, crypto industry gives us a lot of opportunities, especially nowadays. My name is Andrey, and I'm a senior business developer at Liquidity Solution, and I'm going to give you a few answers on that question. So essentially, the main task of my department is to identify short-term and long-term needs and goals of the project and develop the most appropriate strategy of how to proceed further. Now, we're talking about the trading development. So it consists of two parts. The first part is how do you actually choose the centralized exchange or a decentralized exchange, and then how do you attract more traders, which is through market making. So now let's go to the part number one. Choosing the exchange. Obviously, if you have a professional who can give you a professional advice, then you should go for that, because the main metric, as you know, is the real traders. And this is a very hard metric to find out on your own. Now, nevertheless, you have a few metrics that you can check on your own and narrow the choice of the exchanges that you are planning to do. So the first one is API keys. Why is it important? It is important because this is the main means of the communication between the software, any trading software, and the exchange. If the API keys are bad, if the exchange always goes on maintenance, and that happens quite often, then the trading will be disrupted and the whole chart will look very bad, which will scare traders. The next metric, which is going to be linked to the third metric, so it's trading activity on main pairs, and it is linked to the relationship of the volume of main pairs to the altcoins. So what I mean by that is that if you go to any exchange, they have multiple pairs, and if you see that the most volume is generated on the main pairs and little volume comes onto altcoins, this means that if you will list your token, probably nobody will trade it. Now the next metric is zero fees. It's pretty simple. If you have zero fees, it's good. You will not need any additional budget to run market making. If you don't have zero fees, make sure you have some budget. The last but not least, similar web and geography. Probably many of you know that there are aggregators that can help you check how many visitors the website has, which geography they're from, so you can take some of those metrics and make the right decision. And geography is very important, because if your main community is based in the US and you get the Korean exchange, who is going to trade? Most likely it's going to be bad. So now when we're done with choosing the exchange, we go to market making. Now market making is the service that will help you create favorable trading conditions that will attract new traders and investors that are interested in your product and the project as a whole. Now there are certain mistakes that many people make. So look at this chart. You see that there was zero volume and suddenly jumped all the way to 41,000. That doesn't look real. If there was no market maker that did that volume, and in the beginning, if the volume was zero, this means that nobody was trading without the market maker. So we can assume that most of that volume was generated. If there was at least 5,000, 10,000, that it wouldn't look so fake. And the main mistake that was made here is probably the software went down or something happened along the way. And that's the bad case. The bad case shows up like this on CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap. You tell me, does it look attractive? No. The spread is too high. It doesn't look economically viable to trade that. Trust scores are bad, low trading volume, and no depth, plus minus top 2%. That's a bad case. Now look at the good case. Nothing to say here. It all looks good, everything in great condition. So what I want to show you right now is what actually can happen to your project or the projects you know that follow this strategy and receive that professional advice. The first example that I want to showcase is XRT, quite a decent and a very good company. So their initial setup was a small exchange, low liquidity and low volume and trading. After we set up and analyzed what they actually need and set up the favorable trading condition, the result was quite visible. And we achieved the further listing on such an exchange as Huobi, and we achieved a high liquidity and trading activity increase. Another example, and maybe some of you met Student Coin at some of the conferences because they were in Dubai. They had a quite low volume, but not that much in comparison to many projects. And they had 7 or 8 exchanges, if I remember correctly, but they didn't have any main market, and they didn't know where to focus. They had that, they made that mistake in terms of the exchanges where they actually didn't know where the real traders are, and nobody could tell them where they are. So this is where we come in. We send the reports that actually tell you how many real traders you have. So now, no main market and low trading activity. What happened? Pretty simple. Volume growth on peak days, not all the time, but on peak days, reached at $10 million daily on the main exchanges. And we identified two main markets that they had. It's KuCoin and Bittrex. And the price growth was by 25 times. Obviously, we cannot guarantee the result like that, but you can expect that with good trading conditions, people will be eager to invest and trade your token. Now, as my colleague said, that we're going to have a little bonus for you at the end. Here is the QR code that you can follow. You can fill in a few fields, and you can get a professional advice from us in regards to your token or any other token of your friend or whoever you want to know and help. And if you have any specific questions that you want to receive a detailed answer, please follow us at the booth 43. It's right as soon as you exit this room, and we will be able to help you. Thank you.